Hi, it's me. A guy wearing a white shirt to represent heaven? I don't know. The book of Revelation is the final canonical book in the Holy Bible, which describes a supposed end of the world scenario. One aspect of which, at least as interpreted by many American evangelical Christians, is that all true believers in Jesus Christ will in an instant be teleported to be with him in heaven, an event they call the rapture, while everyone else, as punishment, will be left on earth as it unravels into a chaotic hellscape. Now, to be clear, I don't believe the book of Revelation to be a reliable prediction of the apocalypse. However, as evidenced by all those TikToks last year advising people to wear clean underwear on the off chance they are raptured,
I recommend you go out and buy a couple fresh packs of undies to wear for the next month. Imagine after you've been harpazoed, your clothes float back down. You don't want someone's last impression of you to be your old underwear.
a lot of people do still believe in it. And that, combined with the fact that many evangelical Christians only feel justified in producing art if they think it has a chance of converting some people to Christianity, the rapture is an idea that's often explored in Christian film and literature. The most famous example probably being the Left Behind franchise, which started as a series of novels by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins, only to expand into spin-off books, video games, graphic novels, and since the year 2006 feature-length films, all of which I watched for your hopeful entertainment today. Now, I'm aware YouTube creator Jordan Breeding already did a very long retrospective of this series, because no topic is niche enough for the world of content creation, apparently. But I just wanted to say I haven't watched his video, and figured if every mainstream Hollywood movie can get an honest trailer, a CinemaSins, a pitch meeting, and a how it should have ended, the Left Behind movies can get 2 commentary videos. But first, I'd like to thank my friends at NordVPN for sponsoring this video. So look, whether you're doing something for work or watching your favorite shows post-edible, browsing the internet has become part of all of our lives. But lately, the internet can be a frustrating place. Either you're trying to not get bombarded by obnoxious pop-up ads, or feeling unsafe while using public Wi-Fi. More and more often, our online experience can feel like a chore. Well, that's exactly where NordVPN comes in. It's way more than just standard digital privacy. With their threat protection feature, NordVPN acts like a shield for your device. It automatically blocks those intrusive, annoying pop-up ads and web trackers before they can even load, baby. It even scans files you download for malware. Bottom line, it just makes your daily browsing so much cleaner and faster. But my absolute favorite part is that you can stay connected to home while traveling. There's nothing worse than being abroad and realizing that your favorite streaming service for podcasts or TV shows isn't available in the country you're visiting. But with NordVPN, you can virtually change your location with just one click. Just connect to a server back home and you can seamlessly stream your home content while away. NordVPN is incredibly easy to use and works on up to 10 devices simultaneously. Plus, for my viewers, if you sign up at the link below or at nordvpn.com/courseguard, you'll get an exclusive deal plus 4 months extra. Plus, it's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's nordvpn.com/courseguard for an exclusive deal plus 4 months extra risk-free. Upgrade your protection today with their all-in-one security app. And thank you again to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. So without further ado, let's start with Left Behind: the movie from the year 2000.
Take a look at this, it might help.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to.
The movie starts with American journalist Cameron Williams, nicknamed Buck, played by Kirk Cameron of Growing Pains and then later Fox News fame.
And I was denied by over 50 woke libraries that have hosted drag queen story hours.
He's interviewing a scientist in Israel when suddenly they come under attack and go into an Israeli military base that has a real sci-fi vibe, like something out of Power Rangers. I'm glad it at least looks cool because my tax dollars probably paid for it. I mean, not really, because this movie came out the year I was born, but...
It's a full-scale air attack. No warning.
By who?
Could be anyone. No one has more enemies who want to see her destroyed than Israel.
And for no reason. We never did anything to anybody. So apparently, the book of Revelation is actually the reason so many evangelical Christians are such fervent supporters of Israel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, the book describes Israel being victorious over its enemies and taking control of territories like Palestine as a sign that Jesus' return and the end times are near. So the reason so many Christians are such dedicated Zionists is that they believe victories for Israel mean they'll get to go to heaven soon. But also that Israeli people, most of whom aren't Christian, aren't included in that. They won't get raptured and will have to deal with hell on earth as a punishment. Makes their support feel a little more hollow, I feel. I also just think it's crazy to believe that Jesus would be in support of the mass murder of innocent Palestinian people. He was born there. Anyway, Buck, brave journalist that he is, goes outside to film the attack and sees this wizard guy.
You will confirm a covenant with many for 7 years.
We then transition to the Steele family. That's their last name. They're not robots. That would make this movie cool. The pilot father, Ray, and college-aged daughter, Chloe, have been feeling distant from the mom, Irene, since she's become a devout Christian.
That your mother has all those people coming over, and I just can't listen to it.
They're not my favorite people either. You know what, maybe we could show her some support.
Well, what about her? What about her accepting what the rest of us think?
You know, she's on me too, but at least I listen. You know, sometimes I even pretend to take an interest.
But boy, are they gonna regret not listening to her. He opens the Bible, but it's just hollowed out with a flask inside. But if Ray was a Christian, he wouldn't be able to cheat on his wife with his flight attendant, even though the Old Testament is mostly okay with people having multiple wives. So a flight that Ray is piloting, that Buck is also on, is where the rapture happens. A few adults and all the children on board inexplicably disappear.
Honey, have you seen the kids?
I'm sleeping.
Where are they? Where are my kids?
Yeah, it's often assumed that all children will get raptured regardless of their religion. Because all children are blameless angels. Unless they live in a Middle Eastern nation that the US or Israel wants control of. Then basically, as the world unravels into chaos in response to the mass vanishings, former non-believers Buck, Ray, and Chloe are convinced by a pastor named Bruce, left behind because he never truly believed in God until now.
Oh, God!
That the end times prophesied in the Bible are coming to pass, and to accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. Which Buck does to a very 2000s song.
I just know I need you. And I believe.
Most of this movie was pretty dull, but I have to admit, the ending got me weirdly invested. Throughout the movie, this character, Nikolai Carpathia, who's the UN Secretary General, is depicted as a well-meaning guy.
Mr. Williams, there you are. You okay?
But then Buck, after Bruce tells him some signifiers of who the Antichrist from the Book of Revelation will be, recognizes them in Nikolai while in a private UN meeting.
This marks the beginning of our 7 years of peace.
This marks the beginning of the rise of the Antichrist. He will control 10 kingdoms, which in turn will control the world.
Nikolai then kills the two guys opposing his evil plans and magically brainwashes everyone else to think they killed each other.
2 lives taken in tragedy, all because of greed. How terribly sad. Terribly sad.
Terribly sad.
Terribly sad.
Terribly sad.
Terribly sad.
Only Buck, due to now being a Christian, was immune and remembers what really happened. And the movie ends with him and his friends vowing to take on Nikolai in the name of Christ. I guess I just didn't realize that the Antichrist would be a character in these movies, so I legitimately didn't see that reveal coming. And I was impressed by the actor Spencer Curry's villainous performance. Nikolai as a character just kind of intrigued me, okay? Enough to get me weirdly excited to watch the sequels. I couldn't believe it either. Still, all that is in the last, 15 minutes of the movie, leaving this feeling more like a pilot for a TV series than a satisfying standalone movie in its own right. So it's lucky for us that 2 years later, God graced humanity with Left Behind 2: Tribulation Force. Now, the Tribulation Force refers to Buck and his friends as they work to stop Nikolai from fulfilling his role as the Antichrist, and unifying the world's religions, governments, and currencies in order to control them all.
Immediately, we will call on every nation to disarm, to put aside all their racial, social, political, and the deadliest of all, their religious differences.
Calling for humanity to put aside their religious differences? Only the Antichrist would say something so evil. Now, I had a weird realization with this one. It features a powerful antagonist who has a seemingly supernatural grip on humanity and the world's governments, and a group of normal human beings who, against all odds, try to stop him with nothing but their respective unique skills. This felt to me like a low-budget PG Christian version of The Boys on Amazon Prime. Now, valid criticisms of the later seasons aside, I am a big fan of that show, and realizing this movie's premise was weirdly similar to it honestly helped me enjoy it more. Not sincerely, obviously, but as like cheesy camp. It's entertaining. Listen, the bar is low for me with all the things I've watched. There were still some weird things though. Like obviously the writers of these think atheists are very stubborn people, and assume that even if the rapture happened, a lot of people still wouldn't accept it as proof that the Bible and God are real.
Save us from sin, Nikolai's the Antichrist? Come on! I mean, what is it with you people? You think everyone's bad? Well, I have something to tell you. There are lots of good people in the world, including me.
Well, let me tell you, if an event this similar to the rapture happened, where only Christians specifically disappeared, I would believe in it, so I'm sure this guy would too. Don't worry about him though. Ray eventually convinces him to accept Christ right after talking him out of suicide.
Chris, you can pull that trigger. I can't stop you, but if you do, you are never gonna see your wife again. Is that what you want? She's in heaven with my wife and my son.
That's the main reason I don't want you to kill yourself, by the way, because it means you'll go to hell. If I thought it'd take you to heaven, I'd say shoot away. Hell, if I thought it'd take you to heaven, I'd shoot myself right after. Also, it's funny, I know these characters come from the Left Behind books, but if I didn't, I'd seriously think that Buck was a character written by Kirk Cameron for himself to play. Like a lot of David A.R. White's characters in his movies, Buck feels like a self-insert, almost Gary Stu, with all the other characters constantly talking about how great and handsome he is.
Nice hair.
Like him and Chloe become a couple in this, and Ray, her dad, is so enthusiastic about it, he does a little fist pump after it happens.
Thanks, Daddy.
Good night, sweetheart.
Yes! My daughter has been gifted the honor of fucking Cameron Buck Williams! A big part of this one's plot is there's this influential rabbi who's convinced Nicholas is the Messiah and is going to announce it to the world. But Buck and co. are able to convince him that there already was a Messiah, and his name was Jesus.
There is only one person in history who fulfills all these prophecies, and his name is Jesus Christ.
Praise God! Alright, we converted a devout Jew to Christianity, which is a victory because we do believe he would have gone to hell otherwise. Nikolai remains at large though, and the story picks right back up in Left Behind 3: World at War from 2005.
Why? Why are you doing this to me? To Chloe?
Me watching the Kardashians. So this one's kinda more of the same. The Tribulation Force continues going on international missions to stop Nikolai from taking over the world.
So, Ray, where does Nikolai have you flying to?
Well, the rumor is New Babylon, but changes daily.
A honeymoon in New Babylon. I hear Iraq's beautiful this time.
Could you imagine anybody considering Iraq beautiful? That shithole? And they're also helped by US President Fitzhugh, who becomes a Christian over the course of the movie.
God, please forgive me.
For looking at Rule 34 Art of Dixie Kong every night. for the past 7 years. This one focuses on Nikolai fulfilling his antichrist duties of persecuting Christians, even affecting Bibles with some kind of a disease so that anyone who tries to touch one gets deathly ill. That's actually how Pastor Bruce dies, rip. But it's interesting, I wonder if the fact that the current commander-in-chief claims to be a Christian is the only thing keeping a lot of evangelicals from thinking he's the Antichrist. Like, I know being openly anti-Christian is said to be one of the Antichrist's, like, main things, but besides that, I mean, it's also said that people will be asked to wear the mark of the beast on their foreheads to signify their allegiance to him. Plus, like, with how widespread Christianity is, anyone who sets out to have Antichrist levels of power and influence would want to have Christians on their side. But yeah, I don't think my surprising enjoyment of the last movie was totally recaptured here. Like, I enjoyed how in the last two, Nikolai's supernatural abilities were more subtle, as they were mostly just that he seemed able to inexplicably influence other people. But all that subtlety is gone in this one. He's straight up flying around and using telekinesis. Anyway, this one ends with Nikolai seemingly defeated after a terrible CGI missile blows up a building with him and President Fitzhugh inside. But then the final shot of the movie reveals, oh, he miraculously survived. However, as the producers were not interested in investing in a fourth Left Behind movie, that cliffhanger was never resolved. And that marked the end of the Left Behind film series. At least, this version of it. Because after laying dormant for 9 years, the IP was ultimately resurrected in 2014 with a reboot just titled Left Behind. No colon the movie this time, so you know we're not fucking around.
Did you do the count?
Me after my friend went home with one of the performers from the Sesame Street themed burlesque show that we attended. Did you do the count? So this is a new adaptation of like less than half of the first movie's plot, just with a theatrical release and slightly bigger budget. So we get some slightly more sensational effects of the Rapture and get slightly more famous actors, like Nicolas Cage as Ray, who I usually really enjoy as a performer, but is just so boring and wasted in this. And also Chad Michael Murray as Buck, which is fitting because Buck in this version is much more of a Chad bad boy type character.
Miss, please, point the gun at me.
There you go.
Compared to Kirk Cameron's more like soft boy nerd interpretation. Most of this movie takes place on the plane Buck and Ray were on when the Rapture happened, and the climax is just them trying to land the plane safely. Something that happened like 30 minutes into the original movie and wasn't even that much of a problem. This is basically just a generic plane crash movie with a little bit of evangelism thrown in, but we don't see much of the international civil unrest in the wake of the Rapture, or Israel, or even Nikolai. So this one doesn't even feel like The Boys. Even though Chloe's actress Cassie Thompson looks remarkably like Erin Moriarty, who plays Starlight. Apparently, Chloe was originally going to be played by Ashley Tisdale in this, but she dropped out before it went into production. Probably got offered a bigger role in something else. And she felt that bigger is better. And better is bigger. A little bit is never enough. No, no, no. Chloe's mom and Ray's wife, Irene, actually played by Leah Thompson in this, has a little more screen time than in the original. And you know, it's explained that her and Chloe's relationship has been strained because every time they talk, Irene talks about the Rapture and how she's worried for Chloe's soul.
I have been praying for you to come home, and I believe that that is why God brought you here.
What did you say? God brought me home? God did not bring me home. I brought me home. And let me ask you something. If God brought me home for Dad's birthday, then why did he let him fly off to London?
Somehow I dislike this Leah Thompson character even more than the one who has sex with a duck. So I personally would also be very offended by a parent treating me this way and think that Chloe's annoyance is justified. But obviously, since the Rapture does happen in this movie, the takeaway is supposed to be that if you do have a person in your life who acts this way, they're right to, and you should listen to them. Which is crazy, but I guess it makes sense when you realize this story is written by people who are like the mom. So even though it was cool to finally see some set pieces and special effects in one of these movies that don't look terrible, this one is so forgettable and boring that it's probably my least favorite so far. Next up, we got 2016's Vanished - Left Behind: Next Generation. Really rolls off the forked tongue of Satan.
It's not a theory.
So this is based on a young adult spin-off of the Left Behind book series called Left Behind the Kids. Now I hear there's a YA Left Behind spin-off series and I think, oh what, like 5-6 books? No, actually, there are 40 of these fuckers. Maybe I should start making videos about bad Christian books. I'd have an infinite well of material. So the rapture happens at the very beginning of this one, and it then follows 3 teenagers and a little girl as they navigate the post-rapture dystopia. Now you may be thinking, wait, didn't all the previous movies make it very clear that children get raptured?
They're all gone. Not just the babies, the older kids too.
Well, I thought so too, but apparently the cutoff for that benefit is like 17, 18 years old. By that age, you really should have accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Yes, even if you grew up in a country where Christianity wasn't the most prominent religion. No excuses. And as for the little sister character in this, I honestly don't know. If there was an explanation for why she didn't get raptured, I missed it. What do you want me to do? Watch it again? Why do you hate me? This one was so boring, man. The characters just walk for a long ass time searching for the girl's father until they eventually find him as a prisoner of this cult leader played by the dad from Diary of a Wimpy Kid: Long Haul. Probably my less preferred of the 2 on-screen portrayals of Frank Heffley, but I don't envy anybody who has to follow Steve Zahn. Man, that plus the High School Musical joke earlier, it's these kind of obscure Gen Z references that give me an edge against my millennial competitors in the same YouTube niche. But the little girl has this conversation with the cult leader's Christian wife that I found interesting. See, she met another pastor who was left behind at the beginning of the movie and asks the woman how that's possible.
But there was this pastor we saw. Don't pastors do a bunch of good stuff? Why didn't he go to heaven?
Well, it doesn't really work like that. Your job doesn't make you a believer. And you can't really do enough good stuff. It's more like a gift. Something you're given, not something you earn.
Man, so they're just saying the quiet part out loud here. That believing in the literal divinity of Christ is way more important than just living out his teachings by being a good person. Crazy. Ultimately, Frank Heffley dies, and they rescue their dad who, say it with me now, explains to them that what happened was the rapture and that they should convert to Christianity.
I want you to know what believing means.
Save it, Dad, okay? Okay, I've heard it. Mom gave me the whole Jesus came down and Jesus died stuff.
Well, is that all she told you? Because what happens right after that is like the most important part. I love that there's a love triangle in this movie, presumably to entice the teen girl demographic with the fantasy of 2 cute boys competing for their love into watching something that might just save their soul. Spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down and all of that. And then I've been making all these comparisons to the series The Boys, and then to my surprise, this movie features actor Mason Dye, who appeared in the last season of that series as the character Bombsight and will also star in the upcoming spin-off Vought Rising. Interestingly, he also played the character Jason in Stranger Things Season 4, the high school basketball captain who goes after the main characters after being convinced they're doing Satan's bidding.
These murders are ritualistic sacrifices. We've all heard about how satanic cults are spreading to our country like some disease. And Eddie Munson, he's the leader of one of these cults.
And even though I kind of felt bad for that character, because he did witness the supernatural, so it's kind of understandable that he just attribute it to whatever lore he was raised to believe, I still feel like the main purpose of that character was to show like the dangerous side of religious psychosis and fanaticism. And it's just interesting for the same actor to portray that after starring in a Left Behind movie. Makes me wonder what his personal religious beliefs are. Honestly, couldn't blame him if he was religious. I probably probably would be too if I went from starring in a direct-to-DVD Left Behind spin-off to some of the biggest shows on TV. Ultimately, though, after being completely disconnected from the plots of the other Left Behind movies, this one ends with Nikolai revealing himself to the world. But to my disappointment, it's a version not played by Gordon Curry.
You are all safe. Trust me.
This one was so boring I forgot everything about it immediately after watching. Then in 2023 we got what is as of now the most recent cinematic installment in the Left Behind franchise. Left Behind: Rise of the Antichrist. Now this is a sequel to the 2014 reboot, but with a much lower budget, so all the actors from that one had to be recast. Specifically for Ray, Nicolas Cage was recast with Kevin Sorbo, who should be no stranger to my longtime viewers as he's starred in a whole bunch of Christian movies like God's Not Dead and When God Made Man. So yeah, this one is easily the worst one. It more or less readapts the events that the back 2/3 of the original Left Behind movie did, but it's a version that's infinitely more boring as it's lacking the fun, campy tone that one had, and also includes more commentary on like recent world events. Like in this version, I guess to prove that the vanishings weren't the biblical rapture, so-called experts claim that another vanishing will happen and more people will disappear.
Hold on. A second wave of vanishings?
Well, we have been feeding all of the data we've managed to gather about the vanishings into a database. We were then able to use sophisticated computer algorithms to create predictive models. And those models suggest that a second wave is not only possible, it's almost certain.
And I think those false claims are supposed to be an allegory for COVID.
Sorry, but I guess that is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for coming on. But I do want to encourage our viewers. Keep demanding facts. Don't just blindly accept whatever the so-called experts are telling us. And I wouldn't be too quick to sign up for a vanishings vaccine either.
And maybe also voter fraud?
That's it. That's our answer. It was faked. My guess is these people never even existed.
These people just love to point at anything they don't like, believe, or understand and say, Satan, mark of the beast, antichrist. Speaking of which, we get another version of Nikolai in this one that is just so much more boring than Gordon Curry's. Like, they do the same scene at the end of this one where he shoots the two guys in the UN meeting and alters everyone's memories of it. But that isn't the reveal of him being the Antichrist in this one. The Tribulation Force figures it out themselves before that, making the scene so much less shocking. And they also correlate him to things they don't like from recent history.
These are interconnected corporations. Believe it or not, the two biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. That's how we got rich off COVID.
Well, Megan, as you can see, this place is going absolutely crazy as we anticipate the arrival of the United Nations peace phenom, Nikolai Carpathia. This is the kind of reception you might have expected for a movie star, but for a politician, I haven't seen anything like this since Obama.
In that case, Maga definitely never existed in this timeline. So in the end, despite Nikolai and the mainstream media's best efforts, the Tribulation Force is able to broadcast proof that the vanishing was the biblical rapture for stock footage of citizens of the world to react to. They go up in a plane, drop a bunch of Christian pamphlets from it, and the movie ends. And that was all 6 Left Behind movies. The last 3 were all just bad, not fun to watch, and even though the original 3 were entertainingly campy, they're still Christian nationalist, pro-Israeli propaganda that make baseless predictions about the future that encourage conspiratorial thinking. So ultimately, no matter how much I enjoyed the fire-breathing priests, probably not worth it for these movies' overall effect on the world. It was actually while watching these that I think I realized the main thing I believe keeps most Christian media from reaching the status of genuinely great art. I feel that the majority of like beloved, effective films aren't super deliberate about what they're trying to say thematically. Like they often touch on a variety of themes and leave you to piece together what the takeaway is supposed to be yourself. Whereas Christian movies not only always have pretty much the exact same message, that you should be a Christian, the stakes of people understanding that message are also believed to be so high that the writers can't risk not being super deliberate about it. Also, having such a singular theme makes it so Christian media, like the Left Behind movies, rarely has anything to offer the 6 billion potential viewers who aren't Christian. Except, of course, an opportunity to stare at Kirk Cameron's beautiful face and hair for several hours.
Nice hair.
So that's the end. I already had a video end with a gag of somebody getting raptured. So even though that would arguably be even more fitting here, I'm not gonna do the same exact joke over again. So I think I'm just gonna end this video by saying bye. Thank you again to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Remember, you can sign up at the link below or at nordvpn.com/CourseGuard for an exclusive deal plus 4 months extra, risk-free with their 30-day money-back guarantee.